What's going on, Airsofters of the internet? Jake here from Airsoft Parts Bin, back with another video. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. Not going to be really gun related, but more or less tool related. I've taken a lot of guns apart over my airsoft hobby career, you could say. And I think that this toolkit here is my kind of like ultimate just grab and go toolkit, whether it be going to go hang out with friends on a pickup game and someone's gun goes down. I have all the tools I need here to fix anything, or at least patch it together to get the gun working without having to go to a backup. Or even if it involves traveling to an event, sometimes people might need a bunch of tech work done, whether it be soldering, shimming, gluing stuff back together, repairing it. Just because people, might not have a backup gun. They might have their one main gun and they want to play airsoft, so they obviously don't want to not just put it down and forget about it. They want to look for somebody that can repair it. So in my opinion, I think I've perfected go-to or on-the-go mobile tech box or toolbox for airsoft guns. Just start off with the box. This is a Pelican Volt. I forgot what size this is, but I know it's not the smallest size. I used to have a really small box that was probably half the size of this, and it just honestly became too small for the amount of tools I was bringing, and the box was not that great, and it just started to fall apart. The Volt was actually my, I was going to upgrade to it anyways, and I just stomped on the opportunity to be able to do it and pulled the trigger and got it, and haven't looked back since. It's actually really durable. Has the humidifier valve, or the little valve to make sure that moisture doesn't get locked in or out, and then obviously the metal tabbed locking points, just in case I leave it out I can lock it or something, so nobody can get in and take the tools. So let's dig right in. Now, before I dig right in though, this is just stuff that I feel works best for me. Obviously, every tech is going to be different, but I've been teching for almost 10 years. So, to me, this stuff is probably the stuff I've used the most whenever it comes to teching. If someone's like, oh, my systemic PTW, you need this specific tool with this specific bit, yeah, that's great, but not everybody's going to have that gun at the field. It's going to be standard AEGs version 1 through 7, or gas blowbacks. They're all different systems, but they all disassemble and reassemble essentially the same way. Same thing with pistols. If I don't have a specific tool that this other person has, or this other person doesn't have a specific tool that I have, whatever works for them and whatever works for me. So we'll dig right in. All right, so honestly, I'm not sure how to structure this, but I'm just going to open the box, and here's all the tools. They're just thrown in there randomly. I might just put the box to the side and grab the tools as I go and lay them out on the mat, and then just talk about them and why I chose them and why I chose that brand, and what it might work for and how it might help you in a situation that you might need it. We'll start off with some screwdrivers and then work our way to the pliers and then work our way to the smaller, more niche things, but let's start going. All right, so we're going to start with some of the bigger items in there. Right here, I have laid out all my screwdrivers that I keep in the toolbox, even down to this micro size flathead. So working our way from right to left, we'll touch on this huge flathead. Now, this huge flathead, I don't really use very often, except for when it comes to maybe some guns that have a quick change spring that has a flathead on inside the buffer tube, so that you can get in there and have enough leverage and length to be able to undo the quick change spring and change any spring. This also really works good for you got to pry something, and it also doubles as any type of hammer. So this is why I have a big flathead. Now I have a smaller size flathead. Could be used for the same thing, but I tend to use this for actually taking apart stuff when it comes to guns that do have flatheads, like for example FALs, that Ares FALs or L1As, and 6mm Pro Shop FALs. They have the two tabs on the side. You have to take those off to take the upper and lower off, so this is good for that. Same thing with this smaller one, just for smaller screw head sizes, and let's say for example the doesn't require a lot of torque to remove, so got a smaller one as a backup. These two are actually special, so the reason I carry these is because they're actually this one's an 11 one, and this one's an 8-in-1, and they're basically just screwdrivers that you could take off and have different bits. So they're really useful to have, because instead of carrying 7 or 8 different screwdrivers that have all different bits, I can carry one and have different bits to swap. Same thing with this micro size one. You could take this cap off and it has all the different bits in there, you know, just in case one of these flatheads might not be the right size, or some of these other smaller bits might not be the right size. So I just carry these two on me because they're universal, and also it helps too when like you need just one tool, walk a distance and help somebody, or you could just keep this on your kit and you'll have a bunch of tips that you could use. Really helpful. So I like keeping these two. These are Klein. These yellow ones are Klein. These red ones are Doyle. Okay, so let's keep moving on. So this set is actually a GMP set that I picked up a long time ago. It has various sizes. So I have 2 really small Phillips. I really like the really small Phillips for small gearbox screws and like small pistol screws. And I have this normal size Phillips that's more for like gearbox screws, or screws that might be, the head might be too big for the little one to get a good grip on, so you got to up the size. So these are actually really nice. I have a tiny flathead. This is really nice for small gearbox screws that are flathead, like for example retro arms. When you install the little trigger trolley peg inside the gearbox, you need a really tiny flathead, so this is useful for that. And then I have a T10 Torx. T10 Torx is actually really nice because some gearboxes like SEMA, retro arms, the GMP guns that are being made by SEMA, those use Torx. So it's always good to have a T10. I have a T9 bit, but we'll come to that in the future. And then the next one, and my final one, is a kind of a really long, skinny Phillips. Now, I use this a lot for removing the buffer tube screw, just because it's super thin and there's just enough at the end for all buffer tubes that I can get a good grip and loosen up that screw. So this one's definitely a keeper for sure. So these are the main screwdrivers I keep on me. You know, I don't use them all for the same application that I described them for. They, you know, they can vary upon what job needs to be performed, but this is essentially the main screwdrivers that I carry. So we'll move on now to the hex drivers. So moving on to the hex drivers, I love MIP. I'm a huge MIP fan. Honestly, if MIP made flatheads and Phillips, I would get rid of all these and just switch over to all MIP. But unfortunately, MIP mostly makes, you know, RC parts and car tools, which are like little wrenches and hex drivers. But the hex drivers work because they can be applied into airsoft. So basically, I have every metric size from I had 0.9 millimeter, but the tip broke, so I need to get a replacement on that. But I have 1.3, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3.0. I even have the bits that go in the drill from 2.0, 2.5, and 3.0. This is my set that I keep in my box pretty much. I have a home set too that doesn't have the square ends. They're the ball tip ends, so that you can hit screws from an angle rather than having to be top down. But I like using the straight bits for my more outdoor, on the go, rugged toolbox, compared to like my at home, you know, a little more delicate, don't have to worry about things getting broken and stuff like that. Love MIP. I do carry a 2mm angled Allen key. Now the reason I carry this is for AK trunnions. Most AK trunnions are going to have 2 little set screws, and it's like nearly impossible to get with a top-down hex driver, so I need a 2.0 angle to be able to get in there and at least loosen it enough to use this to get in there and finish the job, or have to use this to undo the rest of them, or undo it all the way. So keep that on me at all times. Now I have a standard Allen key set and a metric Allen key set. These are kind of like my backups. They have the ball tips and they work great. I normally use the 6mm on here for filling CO2 mags, the cap that you have to tighten down to puncture the valve. And the standard I normally keep on me because it's honestly, sometimes you'll come across guns that just have a standard size bolt or a screw, and most people don't anticipate that. So rather than having to try to find a similar size metric and risk stripping the bolt out or stripping the screw, I just carry a set on me, just because it's easy and it's compact and it has most of the sizes that airsoft guns use anyways. So These are my hex drivers. Now, this whole set and everything I've kind of accumulated over the years, but this is my main, you know, like driver sets. That's my main driver sets. We'll now move on to some like pliers and some smaller stuff. I'll just lay out the rest and just go over what I use them for and how you could use them and stuff like that. So let's move on. All right, now for the final tools, I pulled out all the little miscellaneous pliers and tweezers I have, but I got some other stuff here that don't really fit in that category. So I'll just work my way from right to left, and we'll work our way down the line. So right off the rip, I got a ton of various punches. You never know what size you might need. You know, you never know. So I have a couple skinny ones. I have a couple medium-sized ones. I have some larger ones. The skinny ones are good for like the little pin that goes in the middle of the receiver to hold the gearbox in place. You could use them for body pins. I don't really use punches that much on terms of like gearboxes and stuff, but like if it comes to like having to mod a receiver or like knock a pin out because it's really stuck or something, these come in handy. Now these are the metal ones. I do have a set of Delrin ones. These Delrin ones are actually really nice, especially when it comes to working on customers' guns. You don't have to worry about doing metal on metal contact. You can just use one of these and do, you know, soft little blows, and these work great. They don't even wear out that much too. I got these on Amazon for like dirt cheap. It came in a big set. This big one's nice for like rear sights, front sights on pistols. I use this one for knocking the little pins back in, not have to worry about scratching the receiver or scratching the gearbox. Or I like using this one for seating bearings inside of a gearbox, and I don't have to worry about the metal on metal contact. For a big punch, I could use this and they seat right in, and I don't have to worry about, you know, the edges of the bearing chipping off or anything like that. So always good to have multiple size punches and multiple material punches. Now, always have an X-Acto blade on you. This X-Acto blade is like, I use this so much, whether it be like scrape stuff off of gearboxes, scrape grease, scrape glue, scrape red Loctite. Sometimes I'll get screws and run the threads over the blade, and it will take off the old Loctite and I can apply a fresh set. Same thing with carrying, I don't have it here, but carrying a little wire brush. That's also good to knock off any type of grease or anything on screws to get the threads nice and clean. But also this works good for, let's say for example, you're having piston clearance issues and you need to shave some material off the piston, and it's plastic. You could use this to just shave a little bit off. You don't have a file, so you can use an X-Acto blade for almost anything. Really useful to have. I think this is a number 1 size. I normally like number 2 because they're a little bigger, but number 1 works good. It's nice and compact. All right, so moving on to some tweezers. I have different size tweezers, or different styles. We'll start with the set. So this set, I got a set that's real sharp and pointy, but you know, also at an angle, so can pull springs and stuff. Got the same set but straight, same application. This set I like using because it doesn't apply a lot of pressure, and I can use this for holding wires. And sometimes if you use clamping pliers, it leaves a teeth mark in the jacket of the wire. So I like having these because it doesn't apply a lot of pressure, so it doesn't crush the wire. And then this I just kind of use as normal flat tweezers because normally there should be a slider right here, but it fell off. So I like these tweezers. Oh, and then I finally have this one here that has like this Delrin tip. So in case I need to use it on metal or anything, or I don't want to use these sharp tips on metal, I can use this plastic Delrin, and it's able to grip something and hold on to it while also not being wearable on the material. I got some picks. I got this really stubby pick that I kind of sharpen the tip of. Now I use this for like pulling springs and putting them on pegs or posts. Same thing with this. I kind of modified the tip of this to be a little hook. Same application, is just longer, and then it's got a straight pokey. I kind of sharpen it every now and then to be able to scrape stuff off or anything like that. Regular pair of scissors, nothing fancy. Pliers, I have a couple sets now. I have the more pointy tip, like jagged tooth pliers that are good for gripping, and you can pull things for this. And then I have a more softer flat set of pliers that has a flat tip, and you could use these for, you know, wanting to grip something but you don't want there to be any teeth marks left over. And then finally I got a larger pliers that do have serrated teeth at the end, just for getting more leverage and torque on stuff. We'll work our way to the forceps. Forceps are great because you could, if you need an extra set of hands, these are kind of like your extra set of hands. You can just clamp onto something and it'll stay. This is good for like, I put like a Dean's plug or a Tamiya plug at the end and holds onto it, especially with these bigger sets, and it has a nice angle, so I can grip and put it flat, and it still kind of has a little bit of elevation to it. So that's good for soldering or anything like that. You don't have like a bench, and this is really good for that. So I like having these on me. Grease, nothing too fancy. I have this quad grease. This is like my backup grease. It's just I'm not saying the grease is bad, but it's not my favorite grease to use. The convenience of it is just it's in a pen, which is really nice. Then I have some silicone grease that's really thick. I like using this for buckings because when you put a bucking in, you want it to be malleable and greasy to where it could slide into tight hop-ups, but you want it to be a thick grease so that it could create a seal. And then silicone, obviously, so that it doesn't wear down any rubbers. In this little jar, I have a little bit of white lithium grease, super lube. I like using this on gears and any type of friction parts. Gun salve, this is for like HPA systems and stuff. It's same thing as white lithium grease, but a little more thinner, so it's not as thick. And I think it's aimed more for like solenoids and HPA units and stuff like that. Then I have this convenient little vial of silicone oil just for lubing gas guns and lubing O-rings and anything that needs a seal. And it comes in this little convenient KWA dropper. I just keep refilling it over and over again. And it's just a small little size, and the cap is really nice. You can put a piece of tape over it so it doesn't leak out. Finally, I got the evic.com valve key. It just covers all the tools you need, like the fill valve, the output valve, any type of output valve that just has the different types of cuts in it. And then obviously little paintbrush to apply all the applications of grease and oil and stuff. The last thing is the gate blue link adapter. I like having this on me because a lot of gate MOSFETs you can just hook up to the Bluetooth and program it rather than having to get a laptop, find the right cord with the right adapter to the right phone you have, and then do the programming. This just plugs right in, put a battery, connect it to Bluetooth on your phone, and you're good to go. So that pretty much covers all the stuff I have in my mobile tech toolbox, I guess you can say. Let me put this all away, and then I'll start grabbing some stuff that I normally don't carry on me, but I do find myself using every now and then. So some stuff that I might take with me, but I don't really necessarily have them at all times, are right here. We'll start with the wire strippers. Normally I don't really carry these on me because I'm not really doing full wiring jobs most of the time. I can just take a knife and cut the sheath off, or use the X-Acto blade and cut the jacket off the wire without having to use this tool. So sometimes I'll take these if I feel like I'm gonna need to do more than just a simple quick soldering job or something really easy, but I normally don't carry these on me at all times. Another thing I normally don't carry on me at all times, but I normally use a lot, is this little hammer. It's like the little jeweler's hammer. I've used it a lot, but I normally don't carry it on me a lot because it's just, I can use a big screwdriver to tap something, and you really don't need a lot of force when it comes to hitting airsoft guns. Another one is super glue. Now, I don't carry super glue because I don't think it's useful. I just don't carry it because I feel like all the time I use this and put it in a container, it just spills everywhere. And it's always a pain in the ass to clean up, especially when it hardens and dries on all your tools. So I just avoid that at all times and just keep it on the side or just forget about it altogether. This I should incorporate more, but I don't because it takes a lot of, not work, but like setup. Now, this is a soldering iron that runs off of USB-C. I normally don't take this with me everywhere I go, but if I know that I'm taking it to an event where I might be working on a lot of guns or someone's plug might fall off or something, I do have this on me, and it's just super easy to plug in. USB-C runs off a power bank that can put a lot of watts out, or you could use like an iPhone charger that's USB-C, and you do have to have a specific brick though that can output a lot of watts, like almost like a MacBook charger or any type of USB-C laptop charger would work fine, because the laptop is going to draw a lot of watts, and so is this. But this is actually really useful. It beats having to lug around like a big ol' I've seen like Milwaukee makes like a big carry handle one, or any type of soldering iron that requires a 120 volt plug. So this is actually really nice to carry, but I don't carry it with me all the time. Final two things is calipers. Now, I normally don't carry these on me at all times, but sometimes I'll find myself bringing them with me if I feel like I need to do any type of upgrades or modifying or anything, just so that I can confirm like nozzle lengths or piston lengths or any type of clearances just before I start digging into a gun and it's something that I can't reverse while working on it. So I like to just bring these just in case I feel like I need to measure any type of specific lengths and can't just eyeball it. And finally, I don't take this with me everywhere, but I do use it a lot, is my shim set. Now this is just a little fishing tackle box, so it's kind of beat up, but I do have every size shim in here, mostly Modify and Prometheus, I think. It's always nice to have a nice organized shim box. I got all my sizes individually organized, and it's just good to have and be able to know, like, okay, I need a thicker one, I'm going to go to the end over here, this is the thickest ones, or I need a thin one, I'm going to go over here, grab like a 0.10 or something like that, 0.1. It's always good to have a nice little organized shim box, but not necessary to have a U at all times because you're not going to be installing new gears or anything like that. That pretty much covers my toolbox setup, what I carry the most and what I carry but not all the times, and I hope this helps any type of tech that's looking to build any type of mobile on-the-go bag or on-the-go box, give you a good idea of where to start and what you might need and stuff like that. So look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. This is Jake. See you later.